provide?
Fire protection.
Yeah, and then what does the ground handling bus power?
It's primarily servicing airplane, refueling, cargo doors, cargo lights.
Correct, everything for the cargo and for the fuel, okay? And then now we'll go, now we're gonna power up the airplane, okay, so, for the checklist, of course. okay?
Of course. 6.1, I think.
So and even though you'll do this for the checklist, but from a system standpoint, I'll ask you, what's the first thing that you're gonna do?
Well, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure that you don't touch anything, so you check that logbook.
Yeah.
First thing.
Well.
But saying everything's all clear, I think the first thing on there is gonna put the battery switch on,
Okay, so you turn the battery switch on, what additional bus have you powered?
the battery bus,
And what does that provide for you?
fire protection.
Fire
Fire from,
detection, yeah. So the hot battery bus gave us protection, and now the battery bus gives you detection, okay? And, so Jonathan, when you turn the battery switch on, what indications will you see here on the panel?
If the standby power is in the off position, you see a discharge. It should be on position, so it's discharge.
Yeah, so you see the discharge light on, what does that tell us?
Battery.
Okay, and then this will still be off.
Yep.
So,
That
what
would
will
be
it,
off as well.
and this light will be
Extinguished.
illuminated, yeah.
Illuminated off, yeah.
Because when the off light is illuminated, what does that tell you?
Standby AC and DC are not being powered.
Correct, right, so one or both of your standby buses are not being powered. Okay. And then, so the next step in the electrical power up checklist,
Would be for the auto,
okay, what additional buses have you powered now?
the standby AC and standby DC.
Okay, and then what indications on your panel will change?
The off lights should change. The standby power off light should extinguish.
Correct, right, so now, assuming we got power to both buses, both standby buses, the off light should extinguish now, correct? Okay. So Ryan, the battery position, if you selected battery, okay, what happens when you take that standby power sector to battery?
That's kind of mean. Come on now.
Only be running the battery.
What was that?
Battery's gonna be running
Yeah, so you're forcing
to the.
the standby buses on the battery power, right? So even if you had a fully powered airplane, when you go to bat, you're forcing them to the batteries. And then what else is happening? What happens to the battery charges?
You get a discharge.
You get a discharge, right? Yeah, okay. Because you've also disconnected your battery charges. Because that's how we're forcing them over to the batteries. So normally that's a maintenance function, but we do have a supplementary procedure for you to do this if requested. So when you go to bat, you're forcing the standby buses to the battery power, even if you have a fully AC powered airplane. Okay, and you're cutting off the battery chargers, right? So regarding the lights, what should you see when you go to battery?
Well, the standby buses are powered, so the light would go on.
Okay, yeah, so that should be extinguished. What about the discharge light over here?
That would come on.
Correct, this light should come on, and that would be a result or the sign of a good test. Right, you see the discharge light and you see no off light when you go to battery.
You said it's a supplemental procedure, is that?
It's a supplementary procedure, yeah. So, because normally that's a maintenance function, they do all the testing, but you can do it if, I think if maintenance requests you to do it, then you can do it. And it's in the check, it's a supplementary check.
Standby power test?
Standby power test, yeah. And, so now, Stephen, so we got the battery switch on, or excuse me, Sean, you got the battery switch on and you got the external, standby power center to auto. You did your safety check and now you're gonna go ahead and establish electrical power. So external, on the external power switch, it says available. What does available?
That the frequencies good to go
Yeah. Okay. And then how will you establish AC power?
by selecting the external power switch to on,
Okay. And when you do that, how is the bus tie system configured?
closed.
Yeah, if they're both closed, and then you got a single power switch.
Yes.
Okay. So now you decide you're gonna go ahead and start up the APU. It's a real hot day. Okay, so walk me through the APU start sequence.
Wonderful. The APU start switch So let's see, in the off position, when you click it to turn the position to on, you should see a run flash twice, which is doing an internal test. Rotate to start, don't let it spring back when it goes to on. And then,
Is any other light flash?
yeah, I feel like the fault light flashes once, but,
Yeah.
is that also part of the test?
And then what does that indicate? The fault. The flashes to indicate,
Oh, yeah, the
Fuel
fuel
valve-
valve's not moving.
fuel valve
in
is
the
ready.
commanded position.
yeah. So you'll see the fault light flash once, fuel valve in transit, and then the run light, like you mentioned, flashes twice, and that's the sum. Yeah,
Then once it scrolls up, you hit a constant red light,
correct,
and then you'll also see on your status page.
correct. You can replay on that. Now, you're required to monitor the APU. Why not?
It's got a fault light.
Yeah, it'll protect itself. Yeah, so it'll take care of itself, it'll shut itself down automatically for any fault going forward. So run light comes on steady, and, so I got external power selected on. Okay. And I just started the APU. So is the APU powering anything at this time? No. What do you have to do to transfer power from external to APU?
So you would select the APU generator.
So now is the generator control, the APU generator control switch is always, is it a dusty switch? It's always in the on?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so you actually, to transfer power, you have to deselect the external.
It's different from 7.4.
Got it.
Yeah. So you wanna deselect external, that'll open the external power contactor, then since it goes looking for another power source, and since the APU's running, it rolls that breaker, and then now the APU will survive the AC. And so after you've done that, is external power still plugged in right now? Is that still powering anything for you?
It's still provided by ground service bus.
Not this, ground service
Oh, the
bus.
handling bus.
Ground handling bus, yes.
Yes, sir.
So, and that'll power the ground handling bus until when?
No external power is disconnected.
Until you disconnect. On the ground service bus, yes. Not on, the ground handling bus is just for your cargo and your food. The ground service bus has to be bad. So, so now, Keith, so let's say, we just started, again, we're looking at the electrical panel, we just started the right engine. Right engine is spooled up. So how is the bus tie system configured?
Two.
I'm sorry to interrupt, I was gonna ask you a question about the APU, the auto shutdown process. Is there a difference from in-flight to on the ground?
For the
Uh,
sequence?
No, for, the conditions that it'll shut down, overspeed,
No,
no oil.
no, yeah, so you got overspeed, you got low oil, any type of fault or fire, they do shut down on the ground or in flight.
There's no difference from ground to air.
No, the only difference that you can cause is the battery switch. So on the ground, if you turn the battery switch off, then the APU will shut down. In flight, if you turn the battery switch off, it has no effect on you. That's the only difference.
Okay.
But as far as from a fault perspective, the same faults on the ground or in flight will cause the APU to shut down.
Great, thank you. I didn't interrupt.
And does that fault light only associated with the valve?
No, it could be a high AGT, it could be low oil pressure, it could be, fuel valve disagreement. There's, again, pretty much everything is covered under that fault line.
Does it come on with the fire too?
No, for fire, you get the fire
Yeah,
indications. Yeah, so that's strictly for fault indications.
And we're still powering the ground handling bus with APU?
We're still powering it with external power as long as it's plugged in. When they physically disconnect it, then it swaps over to the APU, yeah.
The ground handle. The ground.
Ground handling bus,
Switches over to the APU.
correct. Yeah, once they disconnect external. Otherwise, as long as external's plugged in, it's being powered by external.
And what's doing the ground service?
The ground service bus will be normally by the right main AC. And then if that is not powered, maybe you have the ground service switch at one left or by the forward front
Right, you
panel.
hit the button to put
You
on.
can turn the switch on there, and then either
External
external
power.
APU can power the ground service bus that way.
Okay.
So that's the backup power source when you're on the ground, for the ground service bus.
Okay.
So going back, so we just started to keep the right engine, so how is the bus tie system configured now with the right engine
So
running?
we now two power sources, so the right generator is powering the right side, the APU generator will power the left side. So the right bus side will open, the left bus side is closed.
Correct. And then now you start the left engine, so now how does the bus tie system?
Now they are both open.
Correct. And now they're both open, is the APU still powering anything at this time?
It is not.
It's still, APU is still running, we haven't shut it down yet.
And we disconnected external already?
External's been disconnected, yeah.
I assume, because you're still looking to answer yet, but what is it powering now?
So it's, the ground handling bus.
It's powering the ground.
Yeah, when, that was on external, when you disconnected, or when they disconnected external, it's swapped over to the ground, to the APU. And as long as the APU is running on the ground, then it'll power the ground handling. And that's the only thing that'll be powered. Once you shut down the APU, then the ground handling bus is
I mean, that's
depowered.
great for logic, you know the system, but we don't need it. We get too many trucks, they're not doing anything with cargo.
Yeah, they shouldn't be doing anything at that point. Yeah. If they, after you shut down the APU though, if they say, oh, that's my next bag or whatever we need to throw on there.
Put it in the ball.
Put it in the vault, exactly. Yeah. Or they'd have to manually open either the folder or the app. Alright, so now Brian will say we're flying along, we got a fully powered aircraft, everything is normal. And you lose the left generator. So tell me what happens with, as far as electrical power goes with the loss of the left generator.
Your, bus type, breakers are going to be closed, your right bus is going to power the left.
Correct. Now, do you lose power to anything?
You'll have some load shed.
Yeah, what gets load shed?
Your utility, some gallon.
Correct, galleys and utility business. Okay. How can you restore power to those items that have been load shed?
Well, one alternative is you turn on the APU.
Yeah.
The power source, or you can try and reset the utility bus switches.
Correct. Okay, so as long as you get the second power source back online, that'll restore the load shed. Okay. So now, so Robert, let's say that, again, we're flying along, everything is powered normally, fully AC powered aircraft. If you have a fault on the left AC bus.
Okay.
Okay, so now tell me what happens with the electrical system.
The left bus off light should come on.
Okay.
Your left bus is now unpowered. And, it should be utility buses. And I think it's isolated the buses, bus time should be open.
Correct. Right, and then, so this is isolated from the respective bus tie breakers, we'll have the station light on. And then what about the left generator control breaker?
That should trip off.
That should also trip open, correct? It's completely isolated.
But just the left bus tie opens up?
Correct, yeah. Okay. Well, they're both open, but the left bus tie breaker now is forced open, it's locked in the open position, it can't
Oh,
be
that's right,
closed.
that's right. fine.
So that's why you'll have the
You get the
isolation.
isolation one, okay.
And in this particular case, with the fault on the left AC bus, is there a way to restore power to that bus? No. So essentially, you're down to a single power source for the remainder of the bus. No, you lose both. Because when you're down to a single power source, you can share the galleys and the utilities.
Until you got the APU going.
Okay, so you start the APU, will that help you in this particular case?
Oh,
This isn't backup.
No. So it only back up in case the right generator fails, right? But it won't help you as far as restoring power to the left side or restoring power to your galley or utility.
you get in the scenario, you have to start the APU more land.
Yeah. So single power source, what's the requirement, Robert? What do you have to do?
Line.
You have land and air suit, correct? And, so now we'll say that, so, Ron, you just lost the left AC bus, so you're looking for the nearest suitable airport, you're gonna make your way to that airport. Subsequently, you lose the right AC bus. So now, what power source do you have available?
We just lost both, well, the APU is available.
Okay, so you have a fault on both AC buses.
Oh, okay, so yeah, so we have the, HPG,
HDG, correct. Okay, and what's the power source for the HDG?
it's the, air-driven, pump
In which system?
in the center hydraulics.
Correct. Okay, is there a time limit on HDG operation?
No,
And what does the HDG power?
only you can answer. Hot battery bus, the DC standby bus, the AC standby bus, the left AC transfer, right AC transfer, captain flight transfer, and that's it.
Yeah, 7. So that's it. So the captain's flight instrument transfer, both AC transfers, your hot battery, your battery, and then both standby. Correct. Yes, you got it. Looking at your center instrument panel, Ron, you're down to HDG power. Tell me what still works on the center instrument panel.
Everything should work left of the steer handle with the exception of the ICAS and the auto brakes.
Correct. Okay, everything else is still available.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for the captain to retain his RDMI, what has to happen?
The, FO has to switch his IRS to alternate because of the, IRUs are cross supplied. So, then he'll get the center IRU powering the captain's, RDMI.
Yeah, providing heading input for the captain.
Heading input, yes.
Correct, yeah, so those are the only items that are cross-linked, so you need to make that switch over, otherwise the captain will get a heading flag after how long?
After 5 minutes.
After 5 minutes, yeah. So Alex, you're down to HDG power, so you're making your way to the nearest suitable airport, and then you lose the air demand pump on the center system. Yeah, so what happened to your HDG with the loss of the air demand pump?
You lost the HDD.
You lost the HDG, so now what are you down to for your power?
Just battery,
You're down to battery power, yeah. And how much time do you have now?
30 minutes.
We got 30 minutes, okay? On some airplanes, we got 90, but most of our fleet, we got 30 minutes. Okay? And so now, what buses are being powered?
Hot battery bus
Uh-huh,
and the battery bus.
correct? Anything else?
Standby AC, standby DC.
Correct. So now you're down to 4, right? So hot battery, batteries, and both standby buses. So now again, looking at the center instrument panel, what items are still working?
Your standby instrument,
Uh-huh. Okay, so you got your standby instruments.
your street lights,
Yep, you got your warnings and your cautions, your street lights.
I think I wanna say the flat position.
And there's one more thing. So we got these here, we got our discrete lights, and then,
The left FMC.
no, FMC is not.
How are you gonna see?
Yeah, we
Oh,
still-
the standby engine.
Standby engine indications, yeah. Right, so 'cause now that's how you're gonna monitor your engine. Okay, so those are the items on the center instrument panel, that's what's working. You still got left comm and stuff, you know, left VOR, center ILS, and left VHF and all that, but as far as the center instrument panel goes, those are the items that are working right now.
That's the metal six that you're talking about?
That's the middle 6, yeah. So your standby instruments, you got the 3 your standby attitude, airspeed and altimeter. You got warning and caution, discrete lights, and then you got your standby engine. Okay. Thank you.
You still do have your flash indicator too, though, don't you?
What was that?
Your flash indicator, you still have that, right?
The flap gauge?
I think you still have that.
You know what, yeah, you're right, you still have that. I forgot about that. Because that's powered off of one of the standby buses. Yeah. And then the gear, so to extend the gear, how long do you have? 30 minutes, right? Why are you limited to 30 minutes? Because the uplocks you need electric motors to release the uplocks, correct? Right, so you gotta get the gear down within that 30-minute time frame that your battery's power is ready. Yeah.
The 6 were the 3 standby instruments, the two, the discrete, the engine standby, and what was it?
Street is two.
So, the discrete counts as two because you got warnings, and then you got cautions. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
So they call those the center six.
You would still also have the RDMI too for little all too, because the IRUs are still working on the battery, right?
Correct, RDMI, same rule applies for the captain's RDMI. Right, as long as the first officer selects the IRS, source selector to alternate, then the captain will retain his RDMI. Yeah, otherwise it'll load check after, or you get the heading flag after 5 minutes. Yeah.
You can't extend 5 steps. You're stuck in low.
No, as long as you do it within that 30 minutes, same, yeah,
And drain your batteries quickly.
yeah, yeah. Because assuming we've lost hydraulics at this point,
Yeah, lower VP.
and then we're down to just battery power, then, yeah, you still, same rules apply, 30 minutes.
If you just lost your air demand pump, you've gone down to 4-bus operations, but if you still had your center hydraulics with your two, electric demand pumps, you can still hydraulically power your flaps down.
But if you're down to battery power, that means you don't have AC buses, which normally powers your primary bus.
Oh,
So that's why.
yeah.
So when that's why you need the air demand pump to work for the HDG,
Yeah.
because the only way we're gonna have hydraulics is.
Like that better.
No electric pumps, yeah, we need the air demand pump to supply the pressure.
I was, kind of flaps, so that all standby, you don't have standby flaps. Well, you have no flaps in the 30 minutes scenario.
After the 30 minutes?
No, in that 30-minute.
No, yeah, you do,
Okay, so you.
because they're electric motors now
Yeah,
instead of being
standby
hydraulic.
ones, right?
Yeah, you have to
Those
go
are
all.
electric.
But you got no power.
No, within that 30 minutes?
It's not DC power that powers the flaps ultimately, is it? It's AC power, isn't it?
It's, I thought it was DC. For the alternate flaps?
I mean, like when you hit gear, that drain, is that added into the 30 minutes?
Yeah.
That's the only you put your flaps on.
Yeah.
Put it on.
Battery has been burned.
I don't know.
Or you have to battery with power.
I can't say you're wrong.
We don't even have power to the motor right now.
So the flaps are.
Yeah, it doesn't specify at all in the book what just says electric motors, and that's it. But I'm pretty sure it was DC.
You think it comes off
Or it
the
may-
DC bus?
I think so. Or it may go through an inverter.
Yeah.
And the AC side.
Yeah,
That's a tremendous load to put on a DC, on the standby system bus.
yeah,
On your battery power.
on the battery power, yeah.
Here, that 30 minutes, does that like include all the demands you're gonna put on, like when you drop gear, you're putting
That's-
demand, you're doing this, does that include all the demand you're gonna put, or is that 30 minutes?
The 30 minutes
and it's
is,
reduced
so what
into-
Boeing says is if I got two, or I got a good fully charged battery, I got 30 minutes of operation, the battery to supply what they call normal operation.
Okay,
But they don't specify what normal operation is, but we do assume that it includes gear and flap operation within that 30 minutes. And of course, you know you're gonna drain them down
right,
with those items. Right,
But
so
normal operation wouldn't include a loss of center hydraulics.
no, if you're down to battery power, what they say, is as long as you had a good battery to start out with,
Which one are they?
if you're down to battery power, then you got at least 30 minutes of battery power. Okay. At least, yeah. No, that's what they say is at least.
Like the emergency. It should have. At least.
Yeah. Exactly. So again, they're pretty vague on their definition of what is normal operation when you're down to battery power, what does that include, the 30 minutes, so. Alright, so now with the, so Kelly, looking at the drive lights here on the electrical panel,
Yes.
so you're in flight, a drive light illuminates, what does that indicate?
Hot lot.
Okay? And either hot lock, right, so higher temperature or low pressure, okay? And then you'll go to the checklist for this, okay, and it'll have you, what will the checklist have you do? Do you know offhand?
Offhand, I would think the checklist might tell me just to put the switch in the position so it equals the light.
Okay, so it'll have you disconnect the generator.
Yeah.
Right, so you'll lift the guard and actually disconnect the generator.
Yeah.
So let's say you do that per the checklist, subsequently the drive light goes out. Can you reset that generator?
No.
No. So once it's disconnected, it's gone for the remainder of the flight, right? So it requires maintenance action. Okay? And then, Kelly, the generator control switch off light, if an off light is illuminated, what does that indicate?
We're not getting power from it.
Yeah, breaker's open, right? And the breaker could be open for a variety of reasons, right? Switch could be off, I could have a fault, engine shut down. It doesn't really matter why, but all you know is the off light on means that breaker's open, right? So no power from that generator, correct? And then, Ed, so the bus tie system, we talked a little bit about it. What are the three main functions of the bus tie system?
To protect the faults, prevent paralleling, and to have two systems
And to have, or if you lose one system, what will it do?
to make it. Make it all one.
To maintain power.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can get power from one side to the other if you need to. Okay? With regard to your power sources, if we're in flight, we got both engines running, and we'll say we have the APU running. Okay? How are the buses being powered?
The operating engines side.
Correct, right, so respective side. So left generator powers the left bus, right generator powers the right bus. So let's say now you lose the right generator. What's the next priority to power the right AC bus?
Go to the APU.
Goes to the APU. And if the APU was not available, then what would it go?
Go to the outside.
Then it goes to the opposite side, yeah. Okay, so power source priority for your buses is on-side generator, APU generator, and then opposite side generator. So that's the priority that it looks for.
And just to reiterate, let's say we're flying around with a deferred APU.
Mhm.
We lose one generator, it'll power both AC buses, but we would not get our utility buses back.
Correct.
We're on one.
You're on one source, yeah. So unless you can restore that failed generator, you would lose your galleys and your utility.
And more importantly, you be diverted.
On the,
Yeah.
on the circuit breaker panel, is there like a marking of what's on that? When you're down to battery power, is there like a marking?
I don't know. I'm not sure how it's marked as far as what you have left. All right, so now we're gonna start, so we finally powered up the airplane, okay, and now we're gonna start the IRS alignment. Okay, so Rob, approximately how long does a normal alignment take?
About 10 minutes.
Takes roughly about 10 minutes, okay? And how do you start the alignment process? What do you do here with the selectors?
They'll be found in off, you go directly to nav.
Okay, and what indications will you see when you do that?
Momentarily on DC,
Okay,
and that will extinguish, and a white line will come on steady.
okay, and then why did the on DC light illuminate?
Self-test.
Yeah, okay, and then if the align light happens to start flashing, what does that mean?
You might have forgot to put it in your present position.
Okay,
Could be a fault.
could be, so you put it in, yeah, you forgot your position, what else maybe that you did?
Oh, the aircraft could have just moved.
Yeah, could have sensed movement, okay, or what else? So you forgot to put in the position, or maybe you put in
The wrong.
the wrong position, yeah. Okay, so it could be no position, a bad position, or movement sense. That'll cause the line light to flash. Okay, no bad movement. Okay. And, so, Mike, let's say, what's your priority for updating IRS position? What do you always want to use?
Want to use the GPS first.
Correct.
GPS position first.
Correct. And if that's not available,
Last position?
then you go to your last position, correct, right? So when you're on the tuna cans, you're gonna use the last stored position since you have no GPS. Okay? And then how do you know that alignment is complete?
The alarm light. Goes away.
Yeah, line light extinguishes, correct. Okay? And then, we said, that normal alignment takes roughly about 10 minutes. And, is there a timer that you can watch if you wanted to?
Yeah, so when it gets around the 7-second mark, we get the, or switch it over to heading, and it'll count down from 7 minutes.
Correct, right, so put it over in heading, and then it always just starts at 7, it'll park there, and then it'll start counting down once you're something less than 7. Yeah. And what information does the IRS provide for you?
Funny you ask. Track, ground speed,
Uh-huh.
present position.
Correct?
Winds.
Yep,
Heading information.
exactly, okay. So that's the information that the IRS provides. Yeah. Okay. So Laz, let's say you wanted to do a quick alignment, right? How can you do that?
You go over to a line and back to nav.
Okay? When you do a quick align, per system requirements, do you have to update present position?
No,
No, so you can do a quick align without updating the present position. And approximately how long does a quick align take?
30 seconds.
Takes roughly about 30 seconds, yeah. So, yeah,
What's the difference between a quick align and a regular align? Is it just more accurate to do?
so the full-up alignment is more accurate, because you basically, it's removing all the errors, and then you're starting it off with essentially a brand new position. It should be mirror whatever position was previously, where it was at last. But essentially, it's like starting it with fresh, brand new position, removing all accumulated errors. When you do a quick align, it tends to remove some of the errors. It may not remove all of them, but it'll bring you back closer. And then you can use the last position, or you can update the position, but an update of the position is not required when you do a quick align. It's required when you do a full-up alignment, but not when you do a quick
Purpose of the
align.
18 hours, airline does or does not count?
Does not count. A full-up alignment is required, and you can't go more than 18 hours between.
Just like in operational expense, you do a quick align, as soon as you take the runway, it's take the shower anyway.
Correct.
So they never get it.
Yes, you're never, yeah.
Only bad things can happen from doing a quick align.
Procedurally, you'll never do, because you're always on the ground for an hour or more, so 10 minutes. You'll never do any quick. Yeah, you always gonna do full alignments. Okay. So Tom, let's say we're in flight, everything is normal, and a DC fail light illuminates on the left IRU.
That just means my standby power source has failed. It's still operating normally though on AC.
Yeah. So right now, have you lost that IRU?
No.
No. Okay, so right now, since you're still on AC power, then it's not a big deal, right? Should you subsequently lose AC power, then you're gonna have a problem.
Right.
Okay? And then what about the fault light? What does that indicate?
There's just a fault in the system
Yeah.
somewhere.
Okay, so you got a fault with that particular IRS. Okay? On your IRS selectors here, you got the 4 position selectors. So we talked about align and nav already. Attitude, when would you select attitude?
When directed by the checklist.
Correct. And when you go to attitude, what information will the IRS provide for you?
Just attitude.
Attitude only?
And I
Okay?
have to update my heading.
And then you have to update the heading periodically.
Or you update that, yeah.
You can update it through the CDU, which is gonna be normally how you would do it, so you get a prompt, and you can just plug it in the boxes, or you can actually update it here on the panel.
So you have to actually get a prompt, I mean, there's not like a specific page you go to, like
Well, you go to the position page, but then it gives you the prompt actually pops up, the three boxes
Okay.
that allows you to type it in.
okay,
Yeah, because normally that prompt is not there.
okay.
Okay. And John, when you're inputting present position into the IRS, normally we do that through the CDU.
Mhm.
Can you do it through this IRS panel here?
Yes.
How would you do that?
I recall you have to hit one of the cardinal headings or something and then punch in the coordinates there.
You have to, so you have to select what?
I don't know, I'm just guessing actually.
So we have a present position selection up here.
All right,
So do you have to select present position to enter present position on the keypad?
no,
No, you don't, right? The IRS will go into present position mode when you do what?
when I turn the heading,
When,
when I hit one of the cardinal
yeah,
heading buttons.
right, so you start with either north or south, and then that puts it into present position acceptance mode. It knows you're entering a position, and then it'll accept the lat long.
Okay,
So you don't have to put it in the present position mode up here.
How come we talking about the heading, enter the heading?
To enter a present position. Yeah.
So, obviously,
So-
since once you turn it to a line, that's what it's looking for, that's gonna be more.
just north or south, now, okay. then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because normally you do it through the CDU,
Right,
but you can enter present position through the keypad here on your
okay,
IRS.
that's what I said, okay.
Could you do north and then the coordinates, enter?
Enter.
And then west?
And then
or
east or west, and then enter, correct. And again, normally you guys, you probably never do it here on the keypad, you can, but you probably never will. Okay. So Andy, what are the two control modes for your EECs?
Normal and ultimate.
Okay. And in normal mode, what protection do you have for the engine?
All of the protections except for temperature.
Okay, and then in alternate mode, what protections do you have?
In alternate, you lose the overboost
Correct.
protection as well.
Correct. Okay. And when an EEC automatically transfers from normal to alternate mode, what does that refer to as?
That's a soft transition.
Soft alternate, yeah.
Soft alternate.
Soft alternate, right? But what happens to your thrust setting during soft alternate?
It stays the same.
Correct, stays the same. Okay? Now, if you reach up and you push a switch and put it in alternate, what does that refer to as?
That's a hard alternate.
Hard alternate. What happens to your thrust setting when you manually switch it over?
It will change.
Yeah, it'll increase. Correct. Okay? So what do you have to do to prevent a possible overboost when you
Reduce
manually?
the thrust levers before you select it.
Correct. Good. So you bring them back, if they're at a high setting, you want to bring it back to about the mid-range or so. Okay? And what's the power source for the EECs?
They have their own self-contained generator.
Correct. Yeah, they got their own alternator, independent of the airplane's electrical system. Good. Okay, so Dan, with the yaw dampeners, what are the three conditions that'll cause the inopolite to eliminate?
If the first IRU is not aligned, you actually have a problem with the yaw dampener. So,
Okay, so what type of problem?
system problem.
Because what power do you need for the yaw dampeners?
Hydraulics.
You need hydraulics, and then what other power source do you need?
Electrical.
Electrical, yeah. Right, so loss of either electrical signal, loss of hydraulics, or not having any RUs aligned.
Right.
Because the first RU, like you mentioned, will take care of the anomalies. So Garo, what's powered by the left hydraulic system?
That's flight control.
Okay, what's powered by the right hydraulic system?
We have flight controls and the pitch enhancement system and the, and normal braking.
Okay, and what's powered by center hydraulics?
That's the, flight controls, flap slats, tail skids, nose wheel steering, alternate braking, and, spoilers.
And we can call that flight controls.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then there's another item we talked about earlier.
Okay, hold on. Flap slats, flight controls, tail skids. What's the A? I said that before.
H.
What is it? H? H, oh, the HDG.
HDG,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Ryan, if you have a system pressure light with a low pressure hydraulic panel, what does that indicate?
We have, full pressure in the system,
Okay. If you have just a pump pressure light, what does that indicate?
no pressure from the pump.
Okay. And then what about an overheat?
Means it's hot and pump.
Okay. And then the quantity light?
Means the whole quantity, about 50%.
Yeah, so just low quantity in that particular reservoir. Okay. And what's your minimum hydraulic quantity for this guy?
17 gallons.
No,
17 quarts.
no, minimum hydraulic is the one. Yeah.
Oh, is it the RF, the 75%?
Above RF. There should be no RF indicated on your stats. Okay, the 17, you're thinking, what is that minimum?
That was,
Engine oil quantity, yeah. Okay. And what with the demand pumps in auto, what will cause a demand pump to activate?
they had demand or low pressure on the primary.
Correct. Okay, so high demand or low pressure from the primary. Okay. All right, so Jonathan, we're getting ready to, you just got clearance to pressurize hydraulics. All right, so walk me through how you're gonna set up the hydraulic.
That's not on the right side.
Chance to shine.
Right demand pump to auto, work counterclockwise, center two, center one, left to auto, and then center 80 feet off.
And why do we do it in that order?
To prevent, fluid transfer from the center to the right.
Correct. And when you take the right demand pump to auto, what indications are you looking for?
Looking for the pressure lights to go out and the, electric, and the system quantity should be extinguished. The pressure gauge and the strength should go up, as it works down.
Yeah.
And the, brake source light should go up.
Correct. Brake source light should go out. Okay. Brake source light goes out, what does that indicate? You got no more brakes, right? I got a brake system that's fresh, right? Okay. And then, when you turn on the left electric demand pump, then what happens? In addition to pressurizing the left system, what else?
Sure. You're gonna shut the number two, center pump.
Mhm.
And the galley.
And the galley buses, yeah. Right. So that's when you get your overload load shed, so you shed your galley buses and the C2. Exactly. And then, when it comes time to shut down your hydraulics, how do you do that?
We reverse, left side to the right side, clockwise.
Yeah, just the exact opposite order. So you wanna start with the center demand pump.
Oh, sorry, center.
Yeah, so you go here, 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 and then here. But yeah, you just go in the exact opposite order, when it comes time to depressurize. So Russ, looking at our annunciator lights on the overhead panel, if any doors light is illuminated, what does that indicate?
Well, entry doors. You got, I don't understand the question.
Yeah,
How
so-
many doors do I have open?
If any doors light is illuminated, whether it's entry doors, zero doors,
Yeah.
cargo doors, or access doors.
Door. Entry doors.
Yeah.
Or the associated door.
Associated door is not closed enough. So if any doors light is, any one of those four doors lights is illuminated,
Mhm.
it just means that specific, right,
Not
any,
pressurized.
any one of the entry doors, one of the overwing doors, one of the cargo doors, or one of the access doors, which is the E and E, is not closed and locked. Right, so the respective light is just telling you don't have a door closed and locked. And then you have your, pitot heat lights, so when do those lights normally extinguish? Or your pro heat, I should say,
On the first inch.
correct, okay? And then
Well, all of it.
they're all extinguished, right? Are all the pros being heated at that time? No, which one is it?
TNT, well, until you rotate.
Correct. If you have a stab trim light that illuminates, what does that mean?
Trimming it halfway.
Correct. Because what happened?
One of the sand modules didn't release. the
Correct.
brakes didn't-
Brakes didn't fail to release, exactly. And so you're trimming at half rate with the switches. If you have a spoiler's light, what does that mean?
Indicates that you got a solar panel that's inoperable, you got one or more, and it will take out its associated repair.
Correct. Okay. The auto speed brake light?
Tells me that I've got a problem with my speed brake and that I need to, not arm it.
Correct. Yeah, because if you arm it, what can happen in flight?
There's a possibility it could extend,
Correct, right. Or when you land,
not,
it could not auto extend, yeah. Aileron lock light?
that's, it depends upon the speed, but it locks out your outboard ailerons or high-speed cruise, or unlocks it, and depending upon what segment of flight, it either didn't lock or didn't unlock.
Correct, correct. Anti-skid light?
Means you have a fault in your skid system.
And the rudder ratio light?
It's similar to the aileron lock, it deals with the rudder. It will indicate that it will be power the left hydraulic actuator to the rudder
Correct,
and to limit the rudder authority.
correct, yeah. And if that light comes on when you're at a low airspeed, what limitations, or what kind of limitations are you looking?
Well, I mean, are you slowing down or speeding up?
No, you're slowing down.
Okay, you're slowing down,
Yeah.
so it, you may not have enough rudder authority, it didn't unlock.
Correct,
And of course, we didn't check this to find out what crosswind limitations.
yeah, so you're gonna have, you're gonna have crosswind limitations in that case. And then now there's a certain type of approach that you are not
Oh,
able to do.
I see. No auto.
No auto lands either, yeah, but because again, the auto land needs to have the full rudder authority. Okay. And then unscheduled stab trim, what does that mean?
You have stab trim when it wasn't completed.
Correct.
It
You
could
cause,
be a runaway, or maybe you accidentally bumped the alternate trim while the autopilot's engaged.
exactly, yeah, okay. What level alert is that unscheduled stab trim?
I don't know.
Is it a,
What levels
is
do
it
we
a,
have?
is it a warning, caution, or
It's
a
a
advisory?
warning. It would be a warning.
It would be a.
Maybe caution.
Caution.
It would be yellow.
Yeah, but it's a caution, if you get the max caution light, you get the beeper, right? All the other lights, what level alert are those, all the
Those
other
are
lights?
just enunciated.
They're just all advisory, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all
I know
advisory,
my 3 warnings, come
Yeah.
on.
they're all advisory except for the unscheduled stab trim, that's the only one that's a caution out of this group of lights here.
Caesar, is there any monitoring of the arming of the doors?
The arming, no, it's just that they're closed and locked, is all the lights indicate.
I had a quick question.
But the actual arming though, there's no indication, or there's no monitoring. No, yeah.
I think that's all in the CPAP, but if an emergency, like the overland door, is
Yeah.
open, and the emergency lights come on, like
I think that they're still active, or they should never be open.
No, those lights, yeah, when you open them, those, you're blowing the slide.
I thought I read somewhere that the emergency lights come on.
If they're armed,
Emergency lights are on. Overwing. Thank you.
If you open one of the overwing exit doors,
I thought I
do
read-
the lights come on automatically?
It's not a big deal, I just, you knew it off the top of your head. Sorry.
that is a lame tactic.
Alright, we can move on. I'll look it up later.
Yeah, I don't see it, I'll look it up too, I don't see it on there. So with the emergency lights, so Stephen, if the unarmed light is illuminated, then, what does that indicate?
That your emergency lights are off or maybe they're not.
Correct, they're in the unarmed position, right, so they're off or they're on, one or the
Or
other.
you close all power.
And then, so when you close the guard, that'll arm them automatically.
It's on a spring or latch.
Correct. Right. And then, what activates emergency lighting?
Somewhat higher. But if we turn it on, and then if we go to, yeah, if we're down to somewhat power.
So what's the power source for your emergency light?
The somewhat, yeah, yeah, the hot, so your battery lights.
Yeah, so it's on DC power, right? So if you have a battery pack that's powered by DC power, that powers your emergency light. So if you lose DC power,
Yeah, they're probably.
that activates emergency light. Yeah.
You lose AC power.
Loss of DC power,
Off the DC power?
yeah, because that's the power source for the emergency light.
It has its own little battery.
So it has its own battery pack, which is supplied by DC power. When that battery pack loses its power source, that activates the emergency light. When activated, how long do you have emergency light? Or how long? How many minutes? About 15. Yeah, so right about 15. Yeah.
You should be out of the airplane by then.
Exactly.
Very big.
Yeah.
Is that in the limit?
No, just in the moment. And then, as far as passenger oxygen goes, Stephen, when does passenger oxygen automatically deploy?
14.
Yeah, 14. Can you manually deploy it even if
Yeah,
you're not at
yeah,
14?
It's guarded switch, so you can choose your option.
Correct, yeah, so you can always turn it on, activate it manually regardless of actual cabin temperature.
How long is there oxygen?
About 12 minutes.
There's where I think.
Yeah, I was confusing the two.
And it's not a lot of time, it's just
No.
really for you to get down.
Exactly. And that's all the intent is for you to get down and then enough time for the passenger to breathe for that, should be no more than 12 minutes. So Sean, with the rat, what causes the rat to auto deploy?
Loss of both engines,
Okay? And what will the rat provide for you?
flight controls,
Correct. Okay. And how do you know the rat's been deployed?
the unlock light,
Okay? And how do you know the rat's actually working correctly?
green pressure light,
Got a green pressure light, exactly. And what's the minimum airspeed you need to maintain for the rat to be able to do itself?
130 knots.
Correct. And can the rat auto deploy on the ground?
No.
No. Can you manually deploy it on the ground?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can manually deploy it at any time. And when does the rat actually arm for automatic deployment?
Above 80?
Above 80.
80.
Right, above 80 knots,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If I can just maybe tie something together, the ADP,
Uh-huh.
is that tied to the rat?
No,
I feel like I'm missing some pieces here.
no, so the rat, so the ADP is one of the pumps that we use to pressurize our center system. Right, so if you lose both engines, then the rat will auto deploy to provide you with flight controls off of the center system.
But not off of the air demand pump,
No,
not off the aviator.
no. So because at that point, if we lost both engines, that means we have no electrics and, no bleed air. With no engines. Yeah. So the rat is providing us with our, essentially just a ram or turbine, right, so it's just giving us pressure that way for the rat.
In that scenario, what if you started the APU
Then you'd have electrical power
and ADP, right?
with the APU, and the APU can provide bleed air up to what altitude?
17.
Only up to 17.
So once you get
So once you get below 17,
Then you'll have,
the APU can provide bleeder, but as long as you're above it, you still don't have, assuming no engines,
right.
APU can't do it for you, so you won't have bleeder.
At this point, you should be able to grease it on a dead stick.
Yeah.
Is that an actual limitation or procedural?
No, that's an actual, so the APU, once you get above 17, the controller, it won't even let it try to give you pneumatics. So it just says, I'm not gonna do it because air's too thin, you know, so the logic there knows when you're at 17 and it just won't even let it try.
You could, but as you came down under 17, you could turn on the APU and then hopefully get your center hydraulics.
Yeah, so you'll start it regardless of what altitude you're at for electrical power.
And turn on the air.
And then once you get below 17, then it would automatically start applying pneumatics for you. Yeah. Yeah. But above 17, it won't even try. No. So Keith, walk me through the engine start sequence, starting from the point here where you take the selector to ground, and just tell me what happens from the system standpoint.
When you go to ground, you are going to open the open valve there.
Okay.
Start valve.
Yeah.
You shed the left command pump.
Anything else load shed like that? Utility buses? Okay. So you shed your utility buses. For the first engine, you shed the left electric command pump as well. You open the star valve, as you mentioned, the APU bleed valve. And then there's another valve that may be commanded closed. No.
Opposite side.
The engine bleed valve. If an engine bleed valve was previously open, it'll command it to close. And then, and what's your minimum duct pressure for an engine start? 21, yeah. Okay, so 21, and you're required to have the 21 after you select that. That's when you're looking for the minimum duct pressure, after you go to ground. And then, when do you introduce fuel?
Max loader.
Yeah, max motoring or 25. No, the other one's a time. So max motoring or 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Yeah. If it's a quick turn, for example, you're gonna probably wait on the time. First start of the day, you'll just max motoring and then you'll introduce a few other options. And as far as your starter duty limit goes, what's your normal starter duty limit?
It's like a minute on, a minute off.
Correct. And then what's your first extended starter duty?
Over a minute, 5 off.
Over a minute, up to how many minutes on? Up to 5 minutes on, yeah. And then it's required to be off until when?
Until school's down to 0.
So 0% into, yeah. So in that case, we're gonna let it slow down all the way to 0%. Yeah,
Caesar, we said that when we start the first engine, we're gonna shed that center C1 pump.
we're gonna shed your utility buses and the left electric demand.
Left electric command, so you've already shed the right electric command pump.
No, you shed the C2 pump. So when you pressurize your hydraulics, you shed your galley buses and the C2 pump. That's what we're shedding. Now, when you physically start engines, when you go to ground for the first engine, you shed your utility buses and then you shed your left electric command.
Left, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it was left, center, but thank you.
Yeah, so left electric command. Those are the items that we shed. Correct. And then, how long, Keith, how long do you have for light on the Gs? Yeah, the same, what was your 400 feet? I don't know if you remember. 400? 25 seconds, yes. 25 seconds for light up, so you wanna make sure. And who hacks the clock when you go to run? The first officer, does. The other guy. Because as the captain, you hack the clock when the first officer selects ground, because you're tracking the start of duty time.
Just total time.
Correct. Yeah. And then the first officer, when you go to run, then that's when the first officer has his clock, you're tracking time for like the 25 seconds. And then when should you get a starter cut up? About 50% in chew. Okay. And then what happens at 50% in chew now? What happens to your APU dealer? It'll close. Okay. And then we started the right engine first, so what happens to the right engine dealer? That'll open. Okay. What happens to your electrical configuration, utility, galley buses, C2 pump? Yeah, everything that was load shed gets reset. Okay, so you get power to everything. And then Brian, so now you start the second engine. Okay, so when you go to ground, what items are load shed for the second engine?
Only the left utility.
Correct. Only the respective,
Respective.
yeah, galley and utility buses. Okay, that's the only items that are load shed. And then when are those items, the power restored?
After it gets done.
After, yeah, once you get back up to about 50% and chew again, power is restored automatically.
Did the center fuel pumps, they come up with the start ignition?
Yeah, so once you get the 50% in chew, if you have the center tank pumps on, or the switches on, then that's when they actually start working, because they're inhibited until 50%.
And that's per respective side.
Per side. When you start the right engine, gas goes up, then that pump will come on, and then when you start the next one, then the next one. Yeah. Okay. And, so looking here at our, start selectors, so Brian, if you select continuous, what do you connect?
You're going to get continuous ignition on the selected ignition plug.
Correct, whichever one's selected. If you select flight, what do you connect?
You're going to get both.
Yeah, continuous ignition of both, regardless of where they're selected. And, so Brian, when do the EECs automatically give you continuous ignition? With the switches and auto.
Flat side up.
Yeah, left side of what?
Yeah. And, engine and ice.
Engine and ice on. Correct. What about approach idle? When do the EECs give you approach idle automatically?
It's also, flaps extended.
And then flaps have to be to what position? To the landing position. So for approach idle, it's based on the flaps and the landing position. When else do you, in auto, when else do you get approach idle?
Engine and ice.
Engine and eyes, correct? Okay. So engine and eyes selected on will give you approach idle as well. And then when you select continuous, in addition to firing that igniter, right, then the EEC also gives you approach idle at that time. So those are the 3 times the EEC will give you approach idle. When you select continuous, engine and eyes on, or flaps in a landing position.
That's 25 or 30.
25 or 30, correct.
What about the glycol capture deal? Isn't that approach idle also?
That's when you get go-round mode is armed
Uh-huh.
at glide slope capture or when the flaps are up. But that's go-round mode is arming of the go-round mode.
Okay, nothing
Yeah.
to do with ignition.
No, so you won't get approach idle until you actually get to your landing flaps. Or if you turn the cell on the ice on or went to continuous ignition.
What does, putting wing anti-ice on, is that just
making it that it's giving, it's wanting more demand, so it makes the engines work harder.
Makes the engines work harder,
That's
yeah,
what
so
it's
you're
not like-
increasing your bleed air extraction.
It's not
Yeah.
mode or anything.
No,
Okay.
no.
What was the question, says what are the 3 times?
The 3 times the EECs will give you approach angle, or when the EEC selects approach angle,
Okay,
and that's when you select landing flaps,
uh-huh,
when you turn the salinitis on,
okay,
or when you select continuous ignition.
okay.
And the approach idle will take itself off after landing.
Correct.
What, the 5 seconds?
5 seconds after touchdown.
I have to wait all moment.
Correct, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and, let's break here. Let's break for lunch.